Oh yeah, I told you it wasn't gonna go away.
Morning, Joe. Can you hear me? Joe is here. Wayne is not here yet. It's an odd day in front of him, I don't think. Some people thought it was at 9. So they were here early. So some people probably assumed it's at 10. Joe, can you hear me? Yeah, but the printer's on it.
Printer costs a hair more, $120 or
Thumbs up if you can hear me.
No, they're not hundreds of dollars, no.
We're just waiting on Barb because Joe and Dwayne will be on call-in, okay?
Up there.
Here, I'm trying to join by the conference call number, but But it keeps telling me, sorry, we cannot connect.
I'm just going to try and call him. Joe's in, but he's online.
Hell, I'd live without this thing.
Okay. Dial 605. I'm in. If you want to tell, the last email that I sent him this morning.
Okay,
That's
give me the number.
605 313 5911. And then the access code.
Did you get my email about the
Access. Okay.
313 758 pound.
Hi, Joe.
But it just worked for me. I got on and was fine.
Did you get my email about the electricity at the woodshed?
No. Is it out?
No. We want to put 30 and 50 amp outside, and it's going to be like $400. Do I go to you about that? Tom LaPera and the gang will put it in. They just need to put a new panel in to block that. That would be
Says
so.
that's the number he's calling, but it doesn't work. The second time.
I will tell him.
I have him call into somebody's phone and put him on speaker.
You could do that. He can click the link in his email and go live with just audio a different way. Instead of calling in, he can click the link and use the online ID and still go via phone call. Yeah, I don't see that being a problem.
Can I give him a go ahead?
I don't know yet. I have to look because they're not licensed electricians, right?
Tom LaPera is.
In Florida. And I don't know how to pay them.
You're just reimbursing them.
For the,
Hurts.
that's a tough reimbursement. An electric
Pat,
Can
panel.
I do it?
Yeah, they
Dwayne-
could probably reimburse you for it.
Hey Pat, Dwayne cannot,
Yeah.
his link is not
Add it to the
working.
others.
So his link to get in, he's on the phone and he's calling the neighbor, phone number, he's calling the access code and he can't get in. So I'm gonna have him call you. Do you have your phone? And maybe put him on speaker. So he's gonna try and call you.
I don't know what else to do with him because
We've had to do that before.
it worked immediately on my phone.
Okay. Let's get going.
Are you ready? We're already live, so I will record. We can hear Joe right now.
Good morning, everybody. Shall we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one meeting, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We hope to keep this to right about an hour, hour and a half at the most. And we'll start off with a roll call, please. Oh, Barb's not here. Go ahead.
Joe Regenstein, can you hear me? He's here. He's just a little quiet. If we could turn that computer volume up. Randy Payne.
Here.
Deb Davis.
Here.
John Genovese.
Here.
Pat Zolo.
Here.
And right now we are missing Barb Burge and Dwayne Truitt.
Wayne's here.
He's on speakerphone.
Dwayne Truitt, present? Yeah, he can't hear me, so that's probably not going to work very well.
Alrighty. I just want to start by providing you with weekly updates as far as our operating cash available and also what the invoices, the total dollar amount that was processed last week. Okay, so right now, this is through February 7th, our operating cash is roughly $545,000, and our two reserves, which is road reserves as well as contingency reserves, are at $104,000. We'll take those into consideration when we start addressing our 2020 project needs. As far as the invoices that were processed from February 1 through February 1 through February 7th, we processed $47,000 in invoices. So anyway, you'll get familiar with how much we pay each week, all right? With that being said, I just want to quickly verify that our standing committees were the status of forming them or if they're up and running. So with that, can't say enough about our facilities committee. They are just cranking out beaucoup time and hours, and that pool is going to be wonderful once we get it all situated. I have drafted, and David's emailing a blast to the community today on the status of the pool, step by step, okay? The grounds committee, we've had some wonderful people step up. I'm not sure that's their area of expertise, so before we formulate the grounds committee, we actually need to get some experts on it as well to help lead those that have volunteered to follow as well. I think the finance committee. The finance committee, we only have 2 official people who have stepped up. I'm looking for a third. I do have a recommendation, and I have not talked to that person yet, okay? So as soon as we have more updates on your committees, we'll let you know that as well. Okay, let's just get to the meat of this. Our purpose today is to look at our funding, okay, and start signing priorities for the projects that we have in front of us. So I have put a project list together for the board. It was compiled of not only reserve recommendations, okay, from our reserve study, okay, but also things over and above what were recognized on the reserve study. So the one thing that we have to add to this, let me look, is it fire pit tables are there. Okay, and I just want to, we're going to identify if we think we can take these out of our operating reserves or if we can identify if they can take them out of, I'm not operating reserves, our operating fund opposed to our total reserve funds. So we have to allocate where the money's going to come from, and then we'll keep like a checkbook total also is, you know, if it comes out of operating, what GL code will we use and how much are we deducting accordingly to plan for that. Same thing with our contingency and road reserve funds. We'll keep a checkbook type reconciliation, so anytime we approve a project that we're gonna know exactly where we're sitting as far as still available funds. So, alrighty, so the board has had the privilege of looking over the Cypress Woods projects. Why don't we do this? Why don't we look at our budget, our approved budget, and determine of these items which ones we feel will come out of operating opposed to the reserves. Now, at the bottom of the worksheet, you'll notice that as of January 1, our road reserves are 75,600. Now, we can't touch those for anything other than roads. We're terribly underfunded in that at this time, okay? Our capital expense or contingency reserve fund is technically at 0. Between the pool, the painting, some of the other projects we did last year, it totally wiped it out. Okay? Now, in the year 2020, every single, for the year, we're going to deposit $9,200 into our road reserves. That's what the budget states, and that's what we'll be adding to it. Our budget also states that in the year 2020, of all the dues that our owners pay, we will be depositing roughly $145,500 into the contingency reserve. Sad thing is, we won't have that money right now because it's a quarterly due system, so really we won't see the benefit of that until really the end of the year, but we do have a bunch of owners who prepay as well. We do have an anticipated operating surplus fund, and I'm going to say conservatively somewhere around 150, but please don't ever hold us to that because until the audit is done. But in order for us to look at this picture today of our 2020 projects, we are going to have to assume a certain number, and we're going to work with that, but we will also not, determine the projects based on that number. We'll probably go softer than that. Okay, so let's look at this project list and let's talk about, of all these items listed, which ones we feel would come out of our operating, or if it would come out of a projected contingency reserve fund of $145,000. I think that's the best way to attack this. Any other comments on that? Okay. Well, we know road repairs would not come out of, do we all agree that that would not come out of operating?
So,
yes.
Deb, right now, we did approve, I think, roughly $8,000 in road repairs last year, and the company that we chose, their bid, they said they can't get out here until March or April.
That's correct.
Year. So, you know, we don't have to hold them to that. We're on their schedule, but, you know, they said, look, go with someone else if you can. If not, we'll see you in March. Just so you know, those are just repairs, not for a resurface, which is what the point of an actual road reserve would be.
Right, and I know we have the bid, and I know, you know, it's dated back to the fall.
Right.
But, board, do you have a preference on the priority of this $8,000 bid for road repairs?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Deb. What do you mean, do we have a preference or priority?
We need to start prioritizing these items. If it's a priority 1 or a lower down on the list, we have to pick and choose which ones we think we can afford.
Well, we already had that in the budget to do what David's talking about, so why would we have to?
It was approved to be paid out of the road reserves when we approved it.
Right.
So and it's still in there. I mean, it's a small fraction of the $70,000 or $80,000 that's in the road reserves for the year. But again, it was scheduled as a reserve account. But Deb asked if we were doing, if these are being paid out of reserves or operating, and because it's a low number, like $8,000 and not $80,000, do we want to put it into a general maintenance operating as opposed to out of the reserves and cutting down that further?
Okay, I understand the question now, and I would agree that it come out of operating because we did have an overage last year in repairs and maintenance, which I would think that would certainly come under repairs because that's all we're doing with the roads. I think it should come out of operating.
Anybody else?
I agree because we're looking at doing another treatment to rejuvenate these roads and give us another 5 or 7 years. We have a little excess in the operating now. It would be the best place to take it.
Okay,
And I think we should stick to what the original plan for the reserve said about anything less than $10,000
comes out of operating.
operating.
I agree.
That way we don't be chipping away at a reserve. regardless of what kind it is.
So looking at our GL codes, I'm just looking here what account that would come out of, by the way, so we can have a better,
General maintenance is the
General
only one that
maintenance,
makes
yeah.
sense.
hold on.
Is that the one where we were way over?
There it
here,
is.
David?
No, we were under in general maintenance last year.
I'm talking about over, having an overage of money.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So we have $25,000 approved for 2020 out of our general maintenance fund. So of that, we're gonna agree that we wanna allocate 8,000 of that to our road repairs, okay?
Say that first part, out of what, Deb?
Okay, in our repairs and maintenance, general repairs and maintenance in the
Alright.
operating side, we have budgeted $25,000 total for the year. So now what we're gonna do as a checkbook, we're gonna take $8,000 out of that and we're gonna allocate that to road repairs, okay?
Yes.
So that is
Priority number one.
70060, 70060, priority 1. Okay, stormwater management, I guess, Randy, give us an update.
It's all about cost. We have the plan. We know what somewhat needs to do. We're starting with the swales. We have Yates Excavating coming in between 10 and 11 this morning to give us a bid on the north and northwest portion of the property. We need to start somewhere, and water management, I would say as we get into it to see how the swales are cleaned out right now, that would be our first step, and then getting into the actual drains, the piping would be a project maybe for next year until we can actually fund it.
Okay,
But we've got it, we're doing something right now, and then we will go after, not go after in that sense, but speak with Cypress Trails to see what part they're gonna pay.
okay, so we can't determine that right now.
Now, we can't determine that right now at all.
I have a question. You said they're coming in this morning
To give us a bid,
to,
clean the swales,
specifically, where are you talking about, Randy? Are you talking about between Jeff and Sherry Parks lot and New D?
that is the only entrance of common area to get in there with any kind of equipment, yes. So you would head west from Jeff and Sherry's lot to the far corner, far northwest corner of our property, and then from Jeff and Sherry's area all the way north to include Cypress Trails,
To the gate that goes into Cypress
to
Trails.
the gates that go into Cypress Trails.
So does this digging go to a pipe that the water drains into, or does it just go to grass that continues to be a swale out there?
The first swale that goes from Jeff and Sherry's lot, if we can use that for a reference, to the west end corner, which is a culvert that's supposed to take it out to Billy's Creek, supposed to. Well, the conduit culvert is about 18 inches above current grade. As we all know, water does not flow uphill. The recommendations that Mark White from Stormwater Doctor indicated that we could actually burrow a hole into that, so it would be a catch basin for any possibly standing water. The swale that goes from the west point all the way far north, that's also supposed to go into Billy's Creek, and that's filled with tree roots, overturned trees from Irma, and debris from residents using that as a catch-all.
Okay,
I don't propose to be an expert on this by any means, but if I'm looking at between Jeff and Sherry's lot and the back of some of those New D lots, and I dig that swale deeper, and you're saying that the pipe that it's going to is already way up here, what would that be the advantage of doing that now instead of fixing that pipe that needs to be lowered?
Well, if you get a transit out there, it's about the only way you're gonna find that, Barb. Stormwater Doctor did not recommend digging that culvert pipe out. They did not. Their simple solution was to, because that is the lowest point in that corner, is to cut a hole, a cylinder type hole into that, to allow the water that collects back there to go someplace. the top of that pipe, the concern is that we have a electrical transformer in that corner. And during this past summer, the water was on that electrical transformer up at least 10 inches. That's
An
why
electrical transformer
there's an
for,
electrical transformer in the west end corner of that property.
It's on the ground?
D145 or 146.
that's on the ground, Randy?
It's sitting on a concrete pad.
Okay.
The way that culvert is set up right now, in order for the water to sheet off our property, it has to reach 18 inches or 14 inches before it even starts to cascade in.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt because this is not the purpose right now. This is to allocate funds, and I think we need to hold off until you meet with them, and then you'll give a committee report, and I appreciate that.
committee report.
But I value Barb's questions. It's just that's not the purpose of today to debate this, okay? It's to date, we all know we have a need financially to address it at some point.
So if we get a bid, at
Okay.
least we know some money that we're working towards.
Okay.
I guess, Deb, I will continue and I'll agree to give this, but you know how many times we've been waiting on a report for this same
Well,
issue?
let me tell you that with the construction that's going on in Fort Myers right now, David and Nicole spend hours and hours, and our committees are spending hours just to try to get bids from people to even show up or return a call. It is an ongoing problem. And we have to understand that there's other people out there competing for these businesses and their services. So, you know, I think we have to consider that as well. But I would like to move on. But before we do that, on the road repair that we agreed upon, we didn't agree on a quarter. What time of the year do we want to execute this? We have to plan accordingly.
Well, didn't David say that all it means is calling them to get us set up for this March or February?
We're
April?
on his schedule, he said, around March or so. He just has a giant list that he burns through, and he said most likely end of March, early April, and then we'll discuss actual dates when it comes closer. So if we're doing it, then, yeah, I can call him now, 2 months out, and say.
Then we'll have that date.
Give me your start date. And,
Yep. We want it done before the end of the second quarter, I can tell you that.
So for it actually.
Before we get into rainy season, and that we run into the same problem. So the stormwater management will, to be determined on that. Okay, the water volume issue. Mr. Payne.
We are asking for the help of residents. Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong. We'd like to go on at the far end corners of E and D, come onto your property and take a 5-gallon water test. It'll determine the actual flow that's coming out of the pipes at the end of our line to give us data points to see what our next step is going to be.
Okay. I think this will be a priority 1, but since we haven't gotten the bids yet to go in and work on the system.
We need to find out what the issues are first.
Correct.
And,
but I
determine
think
that-
somewhere we have to know this will be a priority 1, and then once we get the bids, we're going to have to apply that cost to either operating or reserve.
Correct.
So can we at least pencil in a priority 1 on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
You agree, Charlie?
Okay.
Hold it. Go ahead.
This is Dwayne. Let me make a suggestion on the water pressure and water flow issue. Our engineers are already working that issue right now because we have to solve it in order to provide water supply for phase 5 or section E. And, you know, I think if we wait for them to come back and tell us what they've learned, I think then we can, you know, we'll have a better idea of how to proceed at that point. But if we don't solve it for section E, we you know, it remains a problem for everybody. So let us sort of take the lead to do the problem solving for the moment, and then we'll report back to y'all.
Wayne, Charlie Lawrence, P33, thank you for the help, but I don't think it's gonna hurt to get the data points of the actual flow points of the existing residences here. I think it's data
No,
we
that's
need.
not a problem. That's fine. Go ahead and do that.
Okay.
But I would suggest that before we get to the point of thinking about defining the problem, I think we're going to need some additional data that we'll probably
disagree, but the backflow preventers need to get maintained too. And that may be a separate conversation.
Yes, certainly.
The mic wasn't on.
Your mic wasn't on. But I think everyone heard. Did you all hear? Okay. So Dwayne is offering generously to partner with us to get this problem resolved, the current problem and a possible future problem. So
Absolutely agree. Thank you, Dwayne.
thank you, Dwayne. We appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the inevitable, the maintenance area. We have to find an area. We have to improve the area. Okay, we have far too many options here. But it's going to happen fairly, within the next year with E coming on. And with the idea that we're going to have to probably relocate our dumpsters into that area. So if we need to expand this, we create some space for expansion as well. The engineering plans from I had to look up the name of it, is on hold. Emily did advise them that our project is on hold until we can figure out where it's going to be and how we're going to fund it. So,
Can I make a recommendation?
yes, let's do.
We have various areas in the park. We're limited to what we can and what we cannot put on. Out in the memorial area and that cul-de-sac, if we're looking for 24 by 36 or 36 by 36, we're well within our property lines. We're not into the conservation area. We do have electrical transformers around the corner, and we do have septic that can be tied into. Just a recommendation of one possible way that we can have our maintenance building plus the dumpster out into that southeast corner.
I think we're going to have to put a task force together possibly to determine the best location, or if, Luckett Road is so questionable now, first of all, because of the development of Luckett Road. The other thing is, once that starts, we cannot access our current maintenance area through Luckett Road. It won't happen. We can't do it. So our only access would be cutting through B12 and 14, B14, and that's owned by a private individual. So we have our work cut out to determine if we keep it where it is and we lose the square footage that we've encroached upon now, okay, and it's duly noted that we've encroached upon some easements. It's going to go down, it's going to shrink down to over 4,000 square feet is all we have to work with in that quadrant over there. And we have an accessibility problem. So we have to look at our options, and there's not a lot, unfortunately, as far as other locations, but what Randy has brought up, I think, is a good option, but I think we're going to have to put a task force together that's going to have to look at this. The other opportunity for where you're considering is it's closer to our new E development as well. So it'd be a closer access point for the entire park instead of having to go all the way to Luckett and then all the way over to B. Anybody have some suggestions of how we want to tackle this? Pat, you got anything?
Will this be another facilities issue because it's a facility that we're adding? And
This is like a major project though, and I'm just a little bit worried because we're going to have to deal with zoning. We're going to have to deal with quite a bit of things on this.
well,
So-
first, one, identifying, possible areas, and then the next step would be back to it's LCM engineering to see if those areas would work, and then start putting together.
Randy, you talking about the area back by the storage
Storage,
area, the
yes,
circle?
yes.
Pat.
Okay, I thought that's what you're saying.
To the far right, we won't disturb the memorial garden. It'll be to the right, but there's still, you've got about 80 feet from the edge of the memorial garden out to where it's conservation area. And it's almost squared. So
It makes sense.
it would be, John's got it up. It'd be a reconfiguration. The only thing I see people do is just drive their golf carts around there, ride their bicycles around there. On occasion, somebody will park a trailer or something there, but we don't have a lot of expansion here currently in the park that would even come close to that. And even be better if we could fill in the front portion of the storage area and make that to keep the circle, but that's conservation area, and
Can't go in there.
and you can't go in there. So we're limited on our options.
Pat, is there anything you want to do to start kind of getting some information on this? And we can pass you Emily's information from LCM Engineering. We have all of her work.
Yeah, yeah, and also, I think Dwayne had talked about something about a maintenance.
That's what I
area,
thought.
didn't you, Dwayne? You there, Dwayne?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Didn't you mention something about the storage area,
No, maintenance.
or maintenance area, sorry?
We have not had any really discussions about it in our team yet, so no, we understand that there is a need to do that, and anything we can do to assist, but at this point, we haven't really looked at it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
To me, Pat's the natural, since you're already the oversight for E with you and Joe. So we just added something more to your dinner plate. I'm going to skip age landscaping right now and golf carts because we can already pencil under the pool furniture repair. We approved $6,000. Let's pencil that in. And I believe, would that be, do we want to look at special projects or do we want to look at pool? We know it's going to come out of operating. R&M pool, or do we want it different?
I would say operating, save the special projects for, we get into the year, we're only second month into the year.
Right. So our options would be 70096 R&M pool, or let's see, what else?
Really that or general maintenance or special project.
Pool ought to be where it's at if it's concerned the pool down.
We've got 15,000 budgeted for the year for pool. And that is different than the contracts we have.
That's correct. And right now, we've approved roughly $4,600 in additional electric repairs for the pool, so that would come out of that line item.
Okay, so right now we've committed to 4,000 electrical.
4,600.
46, thank you, electrical.
That would pretty much knock the daylights out of that.
Oh, you're down to $9 grand left in that one. So we are going to be at R&M General, you said?
For which one, Deb?
70060,
No, listing item.
the one I just talked about? What you're referring to? I don't know what you're asking me.
Pool furniture.
Pool furniture.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the restrapping and refurbishing of the pool lounge.
Gotcha.
So that's 6,000.
That's 6,000.
Right, just remember, if we're planning on using this potential surplus from last year, the way to do that, I mean, you're going to run over in these items, you just have to know that you planned on running over. So if we wipe out the R&M pool line item now with 6,000.
We dip into the,
Well,
yeah.
That one will run over by $10,000, but we understand that 10,000 came out of the surplus.
Exactly.
I would still put these items where they belong as opposed to trying to fit it in.
So do you want it in pool then?
I think it's a full repair. It should
Okay.
be all of that. should
Everybody
be-
good with that? Pool?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So pool furniture, that is going to be operating, right? And we're going to take it out of 70096-00. David's the project chair on that, and the quarter, it is April 1, correct? So that's second quarter. Okay. All right. Pool furniture replacement, right out here, we have some really damaged tables and chairs. Nothing to do with the lounge area, but under the patio here. They're very outdated, and even the newer straight back chairs, they're ripping apart at the seat seams. We have, a security issue, not security, sorry, a safety issue here. So I think it's time that we really take a look at that. Do we have any discussion on that, and if we want to put a priority on it?
I've been told the last chairs were about $20.
They were, but we don't want to replace them with that.
Very cheap.
It was a get by, and we need to go and elevate our into commercial grade on stuff like this that's used so much.
Was any of this
What do you want to do?
in the budget?
Think like a 5-star. What'd you say?
Was any of this in the budget?
It was not. I mean, I think it's lumped into things like special projects, and that's what I think. So do we want to go ahead and have facilities look into getting us some bids on some commercial grade?
It's a safety issue, you have to.
Mike? What do you think? Facility committee look at some bids on some commercial grade pool furniture? Is that something?
I'll get a bid from Leisure Furniture, who's the company that will be doing the restrapping. They also sell new furniture.
Okay. Can we, we'll put that as to be determined. We can't prioritize it till we know what the money is, and then decide if we can afford it, okay? So we'll turn that over to the facilities, and can I ask that we get some bids on those or some options of availability within the next 2 weeks?
I think David just said he was gonna do that with Leisure Furniture.
Yep.
Well, that's one, yeah. Okay. Fire, I want to drop down, well, no, this is easy. The town center banquet chairs and tables, we shouldn't change anything until we know what's going to happen with this town center. So I think that is going to be a 2021 look at. Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
All right. On the fire pit tables, the facilities have, and I sent this all to you this morning, have recommended 2 different companies. These are all commercial grade. They're a 46-inch round table, but what I call is open access to the benches, to the seating, so you don't have to lift your leg over it. You can actually come in and there'll be no tripping or falling, hopefully. And it is of, it's very low maintenance. The actual seats or the benches are 10 inches wide. It is steel tube framed on both of these, okay? And it has a polyurethane rubbery coating, and you either can choose a diamond pattern or a perforated pattern. Belson wants to charge us $823 per table. The second one was from Park something, hold on here. Park Warehouse, and theirs was pretty much identical to this, but their price was considerably less. Yeah, $741 opposed to $823, so that's quite a bit of difference.
Is that for the same brand table?
Yeah, it's right here, Barb.
Well,
I saw the picture, thank you.
yeah, I took a quick look, not a quick look, actually, I took an in-depth look
You
at
may want to
this.
pull that up a little bit, huh?
And actually, what I came up with was, if I just look at the shipping weight of these 2 things.
Yes.
This
I don't think they can hear you,
This Belson for $823 is 176 pounds.
Uh-huh.
This guy here at 726 is 255 pounds.
255 and what?
176. This is a lot more table.
Yeah, it is.
For a lesser price.
It sure is.
Bang for your buck.
John, I think it was
Seems
you
heavy to
that,
build.
sorry, I think it was you that mentioned that you had purchased those tables and they stain easy. Is that right?
No, that was
Different.
the plastic, these things.
Okay.
These tables right here,
They stain.
they stain.
Yeah.
everything.
Thank you.
What was the color options on the Park Warehouse ones?
God, there's a pile of them.
Okay.
The facilities committee recommended green, but there were quite a few color choices.
Okay.
Don't go too dark because it'll get hot in the summertime and burn you.
Right.
Too light and it'll show dirt and mildew quicker.
So board at 741, and I think we would agree, do we want it 4 over at the fire pit?
Is that replacing all that's over there? Yeah, because we don't want it mixed, right?
Oh, they're coming out.
Good, thank God.
They're coming out. That's a safety issue as well. So So at 741, right? If we purchase 4, we're looking at $3,000.
Do we have it in the budget?
Well, there's going to be nothing over there pretty soon because they're pretty dilapidated and we don't want to invest money in them. Well, you know, that's why we have the budget in front of us.
Vanna just got done.
What? Blue.
Vanna.
Yeah. Okay, so we are now, again, you know, we only have either special projects at 20,000. Let me look at what else we could do.
Repair and maintenance recreation would be another fire pits or.
What is that number? Oh, there it is.
What is that number?
70048.
500.
Yeah, and we've got 10,000 in that. Well, that sounds like a perfect place for that, right?
Yeah.
Are we in agreement then to order for, what did I say, $3,000? It will go in operating. It will.
GL code again, Deb, I'm sorry.
Say it, it is 70048-500.
Okay.
70048-500. Okay, 4 of them at $3,000. And do we want to go ahead and order them now, or want to do this later in the fall? I mean, for the new season coming up, what would we like here?
If we have it in the budget, let's do it now.
We'll do it.
I agree.
Okay. So we'll get them first quarter this year, right? And then we need to pick a color.
Let's not jump the gun.
Okay.
Just yet here.
All right. What you looking at?
Well, you gave the lowest number for your bid, or for your calculation. When you start adding options to these things to get what we want, they're $1,000 a piece.
What do you mean
What do you mean,
options?
options, yeah.
Well, that $700 price, it says 700 to 1,000 on the link that was sent out, or 712 to 1109. So if you pick the type of table that we discussed.
David, that's the one I'm looking at. See the price range, 741 to 762.
Let me make sure that's correct.
Do you want the model number?
Model number.
I've got a SKU. Hold on.
Yeah, when I looked at it last night, it was 762 is what I
Mhm.
came up with, but
I'm looking for a model number. I have a SKU, but
Yeah, try that.
you want to try that? 287 PT 115.
It's from parkwarehouse.com.
Portable green thermoplastic, okay, they're 741.
Yep.
Are we ordering 4?
741, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're 732.48.
Oh, 732. Okay.
Coated galvanized steel.
Close to counting on $3,000 anyway, with shipping and stuff, probably.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we will go ahead and get those ordered, and now we need a color. We know it has to not be black because it's too hot. White holds dirt.
How about green?
Do we have a chart to look at?
Pick a color and I'll tell you if it exists. We have
David,
yellow, teal,
I wanna see the
sandstone.
chart.
There's no colors.
I would do
There's no
teal.
pictures of the colors on
If you want uniformity, we do
Brown,
teal.
red, gray, green, navy, purple. No.
Just give us the realistic ones, my dear.
The facilities committee recommended green, but the final decision is up to the board.
Is it neon green? Is it grass green?
Kelly Green.
Green.
Green is
Dark green.
I'm just saying that right now, our colors are cream colored and like a turquoise, or what do you call that? Whatever it is. I personally would stick with the color choices that we have that complement what we already have.
Beige color?
I think beige is too light.
Beige, black, black, green, blue, brown, burgundy, granite, gray, green, navy, orange, purple, red, sandstone, teal, and yellow.
Show of hands, teal. Woo.
Green?
Teal. 3 greens. Okay.
Price is the same.
Yeah. All righty. Excellent.
We voted for teal.
Yes. Excellent. Okay. The Welcome Center, well, let me see if I want to jump down here a little bit. Okay, barcode reader. That's been approved as a priority 1. It's 9, I don't have it in front of me.
I can pull it up.
It's roughly 9,000 if I'm not.
We owe $3,800 remaining.
We owe 38 for 2020.
You already paid the deposit,
There's a
right?
deposit down.
3,800.
Is the balance, right? $3,800 balance.
Deb, am I correct in saying that you told me that the reason that our capital reserve is 0 is that's part of the cost that you're figuring on, taking it out of what actually was left over? The
We don't
barcode
have
reader?
to. No, we don't have to do that. We have to account for it. You're absolutely right, in one of the two.
Well, when I questioned the fact that our capital reserve account should not be 0, you said that was one of the reasons it is 0.
Because originally, we were charging it to capital, to reserves.
So in other words, we don't have a 0 capital.
Depends on where we allocate it. If you wanna retract it from capital, then we'll have $9,000 left in our reserve.
I guess I never agreed that we put it in reserve in the first place.
We never discussed it. That's why we're discussing, are we going operating or are we going to go reserve?
That's why I say our reserve, our capital reserve is not at 0.
Okay, let's just make a determination where we want to put it, and then we'll know what we have in our reserve. Right? Okay. So on, wait a minute. Let's look. The barcode, we approved 7,600. You paid half of it, so we have 3,800 still to fund from somewhere. All right.
Where did we pay that half out of what fund, David?
Not sure offhand, but I'll look.
Repairs and maintenance, I believe.
I'll tell you in a second.
That's what it's going to be with
You may
shipping.
want to move on.
36, 37.
Shipping and taxes.
Screen loans.
Okay. Hey, if you'll go back to fire pit tables, he added in tax and shipping, and it's actually, we need to account for 3,700, okay? Thank you. All right, so we'll go back to barcode reader. The ACD light install, we have already approved that, and that was, hold on. I have too many papers here. Here it is. The ACD light was approved.
Like 4,500 or something like that?
That's what I'm looking right now.
That's 36.
37 something.
That's with Young's Electric, isn't it, David?
Yes. Due to current network conditions, the results may not be applicable. We're having some service issues.
I know where it is. Go back in my notes.
We can actually go on, we can say it's around $4,000, Deb, and
We could do that.
3492, and then we'll have a little bit of extra cost, for paint and things that we do on our end.
Okay, 3,500, all righty. And that's gonna come out of operating, I assume, and on that one, you wanna take it out of general repairs then?
That's the best place for it.
Okay, 70060. Okay. All righty. Just looking at some of the other things that we have here. Are we okay on golf carts, or do we need to address that?
We probably should address that. Mel's cart is it's falling apart and breaking by the day. Our cart seems to be running fine, but we really could use.
Another Kubota?
no.
I would
No,
say-
I'm just thinking ahead,
Yeah.
okay? I'm thinking ahead for East Section. We're gonna be taking on a lot of extra projects here.
That I don't know. Kubota uses a lot of gas driving around.
Does it?
It sure does.
You know, so, yeah, that's more of an expense to have that.
Okay,
I would say no, just another regular cart,
used?
I'd say a good used one.
probably, yeah. I think Joe had a pretty, nice one for an extremely discounted rate at one point, but I'm not sure if he sold that.
Do we want to let the community know that we're in the market for looking at any used golf carts right now, if anyone's gonna be selling anything?
What do we currently have now, David? The green cart of Jay's, the
Right.
Kubota, the mail cart that the mail person uses, your cart,
No, I use the mail cart. That's all
okay,
we
which is what
share.
we've done, we have shared that, yes.
And, Mel's, housekeeping cart.
Is that 4 or 5?
Kubota, Jay's old cart, which is falling apart, the mail cart, and,
3.
No, there's four.
housekeeping, Jay, Kubota, mail.
How many are in working condition and safe that we should retain? Kubota and what?
The cart share for mail.
Say, there's 2 reliable carts that we should not invest any more money in the others then?
Correct.
Okay, and so how many others do we have? 2. So we need possibly to look at 2 well cared for used carts, right?
I would say one
One.
for right now, and then a Kubota might make more sense when he comes online, or when we start dealing with some of that, but just one extra cart for now to, that would help.
All right, so we need to be on the search before we even know what we can spend, but I don't even know what used carts decent ones run.
About $2,000, 3,000, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Really? I thought they were more like around 3,500 for the refurbished ones or something.
Refurbished, yeah, because they turn out like new.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, with the use they're gonna get here, probably would be better off paying the extra.
That's what I was just gonna say. I mean, if they're refurbished by, what is it, Affordable Carts or A1 Cart, maybe we actually need to look at that, and if they carry any warranty with them on a purchase. John, you wanna look into that?
Yes, for sure.
I
Okay.
think the first statement that you made too, Deb, is to let the community know. I mean,
agree.
there's golf carts that transfer all the time here. There might be one right out there. that's
Okay.
for sale.
Are you looking for something with a bucket on the back versus the chair? Is that fair to say?
No.
It'd be a utility,
Tray or whatever, they gotta carry stuff versus people, right?
We already have one with that on it, John. I mean, in my opinion, if we replace one or if we get a new one, it would be for the property manager to use.
So then in that case with seats on the back, cause you might have to carry somebody around.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both that I'm carrying, so.
Yeah.
You know, I know some of those seats fold down into a flat compartment, some don't, but
Okay.
I think that's less important.
Could we say that we want to look at nothing more than 4,000? Do we want to put a cap on some stuff here? What do you think?
3,800 or less.
Okay?
Yeah.
All righty. Let's see.
Negotiating skills, John.
Yeah, go for it.
All over.
The barcode reader, the first half is paid out of the gate repair and maintenance line item.
Say it again now, the barcode.
Scanner, the first half of it was paid out of the gate expense, which is.
Okay, 70054.
No, sorry, it was paid maybe wrongfully out of.
Well, right now, we have, for budgeted for 2020, we have budgeted 7,500
Right.
for repairs and maintenance of the gate. And that, to me, sounds like that's what?
What was it?
Right.
What was the first paid out of, David?
Well, it's the same line, we changed the line item, it used to be alarm system / gatehouse for all the gate repairs, which was 60011.
Mm-hmm.
For 2020, we eliminated that line item and created the repair and maintenance gate.
Right.
Because it makes a lot more sense, since that's what it is. So that would be, I guess, the place for the next one to come out of, there's $7,500 allocated in there right now.
Okay.
70054 is the new line item. If we're keeping it in the same.
Well, that would cut our fund in half, but, I mean, it's got to come from somewhere, and it should be allocated to the right GL code, so. Are we good with the $3,800 balance for the barcode? Will come out operating 70054, and what now?
We only have, 7,500.
Yeah, you see it?
I do see it, but. With the expenses we've experienced with gates over the last God knows how many years, wonder why we only budgeted 7,500 in that line item.
Well, it is what it is.
Changed over the course of
Should.
however many meetings we had, where everything was sort of cut down to bare bones.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
I understood the initial. I understood the initial need to have 2 gates because you had salespeople, people coming in for sales and all that, but why do we maintain 2 these days? Most communities don't have 2 gates.
What are you talking about, gates? We have
Arms
one
and
gate,
gates?
Arms and gates, I mean,
Those arms are very little issue. The biggest issue we have is with the sensors, whether it's the swipe card sensor, barcode reader, that sort of thing. The arms are relatively maintenance and problem free, other than when someone knocks them off.
what about the gates?
And the lights go out on the little red and
Right,
green lights that we have.
happens. The gates, those are more maintenance, and that's an old system that it's to the point where the next major repair means replace those motors.
Or do away with the gates?
Well,
The gates themselves, the opening and closing,
Yeah, why do we need them? I guess that's the point.
I don't think that you do. You have arms in the way to keep vehicle traffic coming through. They're not keeping people out because we have a sidewalk around the gate.
Right.
So it's not for security.
I mean, it's, why we carry an expense going forward? It's there now, keep it till it breaks and then.
You talking about on the board gates, John?
Hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been saying that a long time.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Do away with them.
That one, sure.
you're talking the metal gates do away with?
No.
Or the arms?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think John's talking about the metal gates.
The big metal gates, yeah.
So
The
you
arms
guys
you
are
need
talking
because
different
that's-
stuff.
We are.
Or you just move the lighted gates to the big gates, because most associations have 2. One to say don't run through the gate, and then when that goes up, the other gate opens, so.
Well, again, this is a whole nother task and a whole nother project. Yep. And we'll see what happens.
Okay, gates. 70054 for the,
Right, first quarter balance, $3,800. All righty. The document rewrite may not occur this year by the time we get all of our data together.
It probably can't, because
Right.
we have to wait to see
Right.
with the developer for E and all of that information.
So let's
that-
look at 2021 on that one. That's an easy one.
Or 22,
Yeah, it just won't be this year.
right.
On the age landscaping, we do have some money put back for that, right? Where is landscaping? There it is. We have 20 grand budgeted for replacing our aged or diseased landscaping.
We replace the disease landscaping as we find out about it, Deb.
I know.
in
I'm just
our-
saying-
In our operating budget period.
But if we get a grounds committee together that starts identifying these areas and we improve it area one at a time, we just need to know that we do have $20,000 available in the budget for it. There's quite a bit that's really needs to be replaced out there, that's aged and,
For instance, right outside this door here,
mhm,
they've overlived their life.
yeah,
But on the other hand, I don't want to see mature trees removed, to put new ones in because they're too tall.
right.
Because that's what takes away from the aesthetics here of the park. So shrubbery, yes, trees and stuff like that, should be looked at.
And then the fence along, behind B section and I guess into D, between us and the Country Lakes Industrial. There's a lot of talk about planting more trees or things as a noise.
I'd go
2016
light
car was $4,500 roughly.
45, 54.
That has roll-up curtains.
Oh,
That were about
okay, okay. Well, I tell you, on the landscaping, I anticipate having something together on the grounds committee, hopefully, you know, within the next few weeks. So if we can just put that on to be determined on that one.
All of these things, Deb, that we're putting on to be determined, are we gonna do away with them for the next workshop and just only go with what we know we're gonna, that's new? In other words, our next workshop, if we have one in 2 weeks, is it still gonna include these same things?
This is gonna be a perpetual list that we work off of to know where we're gonna allocate funds or not do the project.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about, and we're almost done here, the town center lobby furniture out here is pretty atrocious. We've got very nasty cushions. Some of the tables are in pretty bad shape. If we want to get to that 5-star status, we have to start doing some of the cosmetic stuff. So I don't know where we want to go with this. I think that, you know, if we put a challenge out to Diane and team and say, we want a new look, they can start looking even at the marketplace. There's some really good online gently used furniture that's pretty darn nice. But if we give them a budget to do it in, then we can actually make sure this happens relatively soon. Any comments?
We need to do it. We always say we're gonna do it, and then we just kind of peters off to the,
What's your thoughts on upgrading? It's just that little lobby area out there is all we're talking about.
Think like a 5-star.
That's right.
It's gotta look nice.
Okay.
It just does.
Pat,
And
oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask a question. I know we have a facilities committee. These gentlemen over here, these guys over here. I'm not really sure how interested they are in furniture
I don't think so.
and colors of furniture. I think they're, you know, more involved with electrical and things of the sort. Might we not have a committee that is really about facilities as far as the furniture, the color of the furniture, that kind
It's
of thing?
cosmetic.
The cosmetic stuff.
I'm all
versus-
about the cosmetic.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that's
agree.
it's a different group of people.
That could be the art committee. I mean, that could just be the board. giving-
Well, I know Diane Leffler takes huge pride in watching over this whole facility. And Pat, what's your opinion on upgrading some of the furniture out in the lobby?
Well, I agree, we need it, but, I mean, that's why I keep asking if this stuff was budgeted. We're in February, and we're beating the daylights out of a lot of funds, and I think we have to be mindful of that as we go forward, because we've got the rest of this spring season, and then we have the whole fall season, so I'm not opposed to it. I think we should look into it, but we gotta really keep in mind where the dollars are going.
what's destined for special projects, Deb?
We haven't identified anything.
I say let's go ahead and get with Diane and see if, you know, some of our owners and residents can get
Chime in,
together with
yeah.
her and look into it and come up with an idea because, as you said, you know, she, as well as all of us, pride in the way we walk into the front door for both buildings and what it's gonna look like. So I say, let's get an idea, a plan from them, and
Okay.
maybe they won't have prices yet, but at least a plan or an idea before we just say, okay, so much money for new furniture.
And
I
when
like
we
that.
established the special project fund, that was exactly what it was for,
Right.
Okay.
that kind of thing.
So we could possibly do that. So I'll put that charge out to them, and I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I don't think it would really be necessary to give them a budget, Deb. Let them see what they come up with.
I know they'll be frugal but tasteful. So, do we need to do anything with the Welcome Center pool and spa? Thank God for it right now, or we wouldn't be in any water at all. So,
Right now, Melanie Breeze is our Lee County Health Inspector. She said, one, if we're keeping that pool, because there was talk earlier on, you know, maybe we don't need the second pool with E-section coming online. Emily said, you know, fill it in and use it for maintenance. If we're keeping the pool, we have to resurface it this year. She said, again, she would have shut us down when she came out for our inspection in December for this pool if it was in worse condition than the other pool, which it is. So she said, this would be the year you're going to have to resurface that pool as well. We were told this in December.
well, I didn't know there was an option to fill in that pool, and that's even a consideration. So,
I don't know that it is. It was Emily.
it hasn't been discussed. Don't go out to the community and say anything because nothing has been discussed on this.
At several board meetings, she's brought it up. Again, I think it's just a way to say, if you don't want to spend money, then here's the option, because we don't have a place, and it'll cut the budget since people don't like to pay for, you know, this was in the budget meeting when it
Okay.
was discussed. But Melanie said, yes, that pool would have to be done this year. The quote's about $20,000, much less than this. I don't know that that's true. She may not hold us to that. She won't be the one coming out here for the inspection, though.
I was just gonna ask you about that, David. Melanie is the inspector for the chemicals and so forth,
Yes,
health pools,
Lee County Health Department.
Health
We
Department.
get pool inspections twice a year.
And she told you that she would have shut us down on this pool for not resurfacing it?
Yes.
Mhm.
There's a condition that it has to be in for a commercial pool. That other one is borderline not meeting
No.
community or commercial pool standard. She said this one was in worst case, there's a good chance I would have shut you down in December, or I would have shut you down when I came out here for it. She didn't see this one until it was drained and in the Marsite project, because she showed up for her inspection during this one. But she said if it was in worse shape than the Welcome Center pool, that she would have shut us down for it until it was resurfaced.
Well, why don't we get this one up and running, and then the facilities can tackle the second one with bids and look at what it may cost us to do that. And they're gonna learn a lot from this project here that they're on right now, so.
If we have bids and it's on the schedule, even if it's for 21, I'm sure we can get away with that as long as the condition doesn't rapidly deteriorate.
Okay, sounds good. So the pool heaters at the town center, we know it's gonna be a priority one. We also know that we're getting bids on 2 items, right? On 2 heaters?
Yes,
And did you have a ballpark on that just for budgeting purposes?
roughly $4,500 per heater.
Plus the controller?
We don't know about the controller at this point. That's a complete unknown. It could be $1,000, $2,000.
So $10,000 would be a ballpark, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And $4,600 of electric work was approved.
we've got that.
It's also signed.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, we're looking at close to 15,000, hopefully less in that line item.
Weren't we talking about the one pool heater here that needs to be replaced?
There's 2 that have to be
Oh, 2,
replaced,
okay.
So $4,500 for each of those is
plus.
Right.
what we paid last time, and then plus the controller for the system. and then 4,600 in the electric. I would estimate with the controller, 15,000 for all three of those items, electric, 2 heaters, and
15.
the proper controller.
And that includes all labor, right?
Plus labor.
Yeah, okay.
It should be, that's an installed price. That's what we paid last time.
Right.
Through American Pools. I don't know that we'll get that low of a rate next time, but we can look.
And we really can't determine anything on the Welcome Center pool heaters. It was just listed on the reserve study. That's the only reason I put it on here. So really, I think right now, we could probably just scratch them out, right?
NA.
They've been relatively problem-free. They're definitely not to the point of being replaced.
Don't you hex us, whatever.
No
Okay.
replacement necessary yet.
The Welcome Center roof, who's working on that?
Mike Baker.
Do we have any plans yet on that? And what kind of priority are we talking here?
Mike?
Do not know.
Okay, pending.
So, we're getting prices to replace, repair, what other price is gonna include? Yes, which one?
Oh, wow. Are you saying roof replace?
We just repaired.
Oh. Okay.
We just,
We just repaired that, didn't we?
yeah, we did.
We just had all the.
In 2018.
Put all the nails in, yeah.
Yeah, all the
2018,
nails.
we had all the screws replaced with those washers to keep the water from coming in just in 2018. It was quite a bit of money.
Mike is talking about the membrane roofs. the
Hey, Mike,
flat roofs.
can you come up so
Oh,
everybody
okay.
can, please?
Stand very
Oh,
far.
poor baby.
Yeah, don't breathe.
Don't breathe in the mic.
Gotta turn it on.
It's on, just
It's
yell.
It's on.
elevated.
Hello?
Yep.
We're talking about 3 different roofs. One roof is here over the kitchen area, right beside the dumpster. And 2 roofs down on the Welcome Center, the Welcome Center, where 2 additions were built on the Welcome Center in, I think, '03. They're, what would normally
Like the
call-
wings of it, you mean? If you look at it over?
Not exactly wings
Okay.
of it, but they're built, what would normally call build-up roofs or membrane roofs. They're not the metal roofs, completely different kind of roofing system. And to be honest, especially the one on this building is really shot. They're going to have some work. I have no idea at this point how much it's going to be. We're working on that. Had
Okay.
roofers in here yesterday.
All righty. Sounds like you got that in the works too. Good. That wraps it up except for shuffle courts. I know that Virgil Collins is going to, he's already gotten 1 bid and I said you've got to have at least 2 and they want a total retreatment and where's my Joe Landry? You're looking at a total resurfacing, are you not, of?
Well, taking the paint off, going down that far, not going all the way down to the ground,
Gotcha.
but taking off that, because it's such a buildup of beads and stuff, they need to have that all ground up.
And we do have a line item for recreation, the 4.8 line item. We've
0048-500.
right, so we've already allocated 3,700 of that, so that would leave us. Hold on. That would leave us about $7,000 left in that fund. Okay, so as soon as Virgil gets us those 2 bids, then the board can take a look at it and make sure. What, dear?
They're awful. They are awful.
Oh, awful. Okay.
Part of what Virgil is gonna bring to the board is that instead of just gradually removing the beads and throwing some more sealer down in beads, is to actually have them ground down so they're all planed correctly. And also the individual, one of the bids was that once this is done, it'll be good for at least 5 years. So we've played, I've played, Joanne's played in other parks, anybody else that's played shuffleboard. Crystal Lakes was absolutely perfect. So that'll buy us at least 5 years anyway. So I think it's a good investment.
All right.
Now we spend about $800, we spend $800 a year on glass beading and waxing glass services.
Yeah.
With a shuffleboard, they've done it the last 4 years at that price, including last September.
Well, we've accomplished a lot. We actually have a little bit of a roadmap here. There are some pending items until we get more information, all right? But this will help us navigate through this year. Any questions, any concerns?
Jeff, I've been working on the reserve study thing, and I was gonna print it out, but I gotta go get a new printer. Mine's printing, you go cross-eyed trying to read it. But what I did, first of all, I broke it down by, sorted it by when it's due, the life expectancy.
Yep.
So if I take the first 5 years of the things that are scheduled to be replaced, if every one of those things had to be replaced at the anticipated replacement cost, we would need a reserve of $117,000. Now naturally, like the first item on there is building 3 HVACs. I think this is an excellent opportunity for the facilities committee to say, okay, work with David, and these things need to be replaced. Are there, they high maintenance? Are they working properly, or is it just routine maintenance? But the second 10 years, the second 5 years, taking those items, it's $112,650. So I think we can come up with a good reserve, fund it, and actually when E comes online, we're looking at $48 a quarter, $46 a quarter, and I also did 100%, 70%, and 50% funding, and it gets down to like, well, 50% funding with E online is $37 a quarter, and that's 100% funding. So I think
Pretty impressive.
I think we can come up with a good reserve, but I really have to
Change that
emphasize,
word
it's
reserve.
gotta be a board dedicated reserve that it's just not, we have the money. That's the biggest fear I have with this.
So I think,
I'm gonna send this spreadsheet out because
Would
you'll
ya?
be able to see it easier
Yeah.
than print it.
and let's get away from the word reserve because the amendment is defeated to have reserves, but we will have a capital expenditure fund.
Well, we
already have a
We
reserve.
have a board established reserve.
We have a board established road reserve, right?
No?
And
And the contingency.
The contingency, the reserve we had was established back in 2013, and the deal at that time was, because we didn't have a lot of money, was it had to be $3,500 minimum, and it had to be for a replacement.
Yep.
And I think if we continue that logic and even increase it to 9,000, 10,000 or whatever we come up with, we can fund this thing and we can get the things rolling that we need and make it work out.
Love
and
it.
not put a strain on everybody.
Pat, can I meet with you afterwards or another time to talk about these? Because the numbers that you just said, I'm just confused of where you're getting those low numbers from.
All right, take.
So we don't have to do it now. This will
Okay,
be a while.
okay.
I have the reserve study up, but I just want to see.
Well,
where you're getting it.
I dropped out the $150,000 every year for sprinklers.
Yes.
Landscaping.
Yeah.
Well, even the lady who prepared the reserve study for us, when we challenged, what is that $50,000 a year for landscaping? And she says, well, that's really just a slush fund that I put in there.
No, she was told to put it in there.
She was told to put it in there, okay.
That
She was.
Through either the board,
Okay.
or Tina at the time said.
It
that's how
was
much it
Tina.
should be.
Okay. So that was a skewed number off the bat, so. Good job, everybody. Do we have anything from the floor? Anybody? You're getting unknown. You should have an email coming to you today, sir.
Just real quick, we are waiting some electric work before we can turn the heaters back on. The pool's open, you can go in, it's warming up by the day, it's not that cold right now. Warmer than most of the lakes up north that we all grew up with. Again, once the electrical work is done and we verify that we're not going to burn up any more of our equipment, we'll fire everything back up and then install 2 additional heaters. But right now we're waiting on the electric issues that we've been dealing with for ever, for 20 years to be addressed before moving forward.
Are they working on them now, David?
They've been given the go-ahead. They've ordered the buck boost transformers, and as soon as they get what they need in and can get it on the schedule, they'll be out here to install those. And once power is verified that it's enough, then we'll turn on the existing heaters and see what happens.
Cross your fingers. So, I just need a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? We'll see you on our meeting, I think it's the 28th. Is the board meeting February 28th? Is that right? So we'll be sending out a memo to everyone.
February 28th is the board
I think it is Friday. Is that the 28th?
That's the last Friday.
That's it.
At what time?
February 28th.
Yep. You know why we did that, Pat?
Yeah, because of the financials. Which I gotta talk to David. I put on the board website, other than the violations, which are none, I can see architectural requests, I can see dogs.
Yeah.
That's no finance, there's nothing there.
Yes.
I've got him.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I don't even know the address to the board website.
Well, that's on David, that's David's, he's working up for you and Dwayne and if Pat, but Pat's pretty savvy.
This is
To make sure that
the-
you get all your board access to the website. Oh,